The night Kevin's company went public, his first love showed up with a 2-year-old boy to congratulate him. Watching their happy little family, I saw a loving father, a child, and a tender mother. The crowd mocked me, saying my good days were over. I chuckled and immediately called my billionaire parents to withdraw their investment. Why feel sorry for a jerk destined for a lifetime of bad luck? The 2-year-old, still wobbly on his feet, ran excitedly toward Kevin, but fell after a few steps, crying and calling for his dad. Kevin rushed over, picked him up, and soothed him with such gentleness. It was the first time I'd seen this side of Kevin. Jane, his first love, walked over and cooed at their child alongside Kevin. As Kevin's official girlfriend, I could only stand there, watching this scene unfold like an outsider. I overheard his friends whispering and laughing behind me. So, Linda got dumped. Exactly. If Kevin didn't dump her, would he have ditched Jane, who has his kid? It's her own fault. She's been with Kevin for 5 years, and not even a single egg. Stop it. Her good days are over. Have some pity, will you? The celebration for the company going public quickly turned into a mocking of me. Kevin gave his friends a warning look, signaling them to stop talking. They shut up instantly. The 2-year-old stopped crying in Kevin's arms. Jane wore a fragile, innocent expression and softly said, "I'm sorry, Kevin." The baby kept asking for his dad. I had no choice but to bring him here. Today is your big day, and I wanted to congratulate you and let the baby witness this moment with you. Kevin cast her a glance but said nothing. He carried the child over to me. This was the first time he'd looked at me since his first love and their illegitimate son were revealed. He leaned down and whispered in my ear, "Linda, there are other important guests tonight. I'll explain everything when it's over." This was the same man who ecstatically hugged me and spun me around when the company went public, saying, "Linda, we did it. Let's get married. This is the best gift I can give you." Looking back, I realized those words were just spur of the moment, said without thinking. He probably didn't even remember what he said, but I took it seriously. I chuckled at myself and Kevin. After the guests had gradually left, Kevin came to me with his son, speaking to me from a position of superiority. "Linda, let's break up. The breakup fee will be transferred to your account by my assistant." He added, "Don't worry. I won't shortchange you. Money does change people." Now he spoke so generously. I looked at Jane behind him. She immediately lowered her head, her voice weak and even tearful. "Miss Linda, I understand my presence upsets you, but Kevin and I truly love each other. You wouldn't want to be the one ruining someone else's relationship, would you?" I found it extremely laughable. I had been with Kevin for 5 years, and her child was 2. Could she really say that? "All right, let's break up." I shrugged, and then smiled at Jane. "Jane, you really chose a good time. The country now recognizes illegitimate children. Otherwise, your son wouldn't even have inheritance rights. That'd be a real pity. There's more than one illegitimate child here tonight." I smiled even wider, looking at Kevin whose face had darkened. "But the breakup terms are mine to decide." If Kevin thought a measly breakup fee could placate me, he was sorely mistaken. Kevin, although visibly affected by my words, kept his composure and asked, "How much do you want?" "Name a figure." 10% of the company shares. "No less," I said. Kevin looked at me as if I were a greedy lion. "Linda, do you even realize what you're saying? 10% of the shares? That's impossible." He was getting flustered. "So you think I didn't make a scene at the event to save your face?" I laughed at his naivete. "You, the president of group, exposing your mistress an illegitimate child on the day of the company's public listing. Imagine what'll happen if this gets out. The stock price will plummet. For a newly listed company, what kind of image would that set? How would you explain this to the shareholders?" Kevin seemed to realize the gravity of the situation, his dark gaze landing on Jane. Jane immediately bowed her head, crying softly, "It's the baby who wanted to find his dad. 10% of the shares. I want the transfer document by tomorrow morning." What happened next was their problem, not mine. Kevin still stood there, weighing his options. Before leaving, I looked at Jane and said, "Thank you." Jane froze. If not for her, I'd have remained in the dark and wouldn't have gotten these 10% shares. So, naturally, I thanked her. "You truly are Kevin's good helper." I left the 3 of them behind without looking back. Once in the car, I pulled out my phone and called my parents. Pull out our investment from Kevin's company. As soon as I got home, my parents sat me down for a stern talk. "What's this about pulling out?" my dad asked. My mom poked him because of that illegitimate child. My dad cleared his throat, correcting himself. "Kevin, Dad, you were right. He's just a bastard. I don't look down on illegitimate children. They don't choose their circumstances." But Kevin following his father's footsteps, an illegitimate child fathering another illegitimate child, was his fault. Like father, like son. My parents exchanged glances. Finally, my mom hesitantly asked me, "Did you break up?" I nodded. For the next 3 minutes, my parents congratulated me and showed their excitement over my breakup. Finally, my dad cleared his throat, sat up straight, and said, I always said that Kevin is just an illegitimate child. Though he has some skills, it's thanks to your support that he's achieved even this much. He's not worthy of you. I nodded, agreeing with my dad. I mean, I'm the jewel of the richest family, and Kevin's just an illegitimate child. We really don't match. I initially pitied him, because his family didn't accept him, and his uncle Luke always acted superior. Looking back, I see why his uncle didn't approve of him. I stayed by Kevin's side for 5 years out of pity, and in the end, he dumped me. It seems feeling sorry for men really brings bad luck. I'm done feeling sorry. I told my parents. I asked Kevin for 10% of his company shares, which he'll send me tomorrow morning. Didn't you tell me to withdraw my investment? Why would you need the shares then? Besides, they're worthless, my mom said. I knew my parents never thought much of Kevin's small company, but those shares are rightfully mine. Don't spread the news yet. Wait until I sell the shares, I said. Dad mentioned that selling the shares might not be easy. Eric's handsome face flashed in my mind. I smiled. I already have a buyer. Back in my room, I dialed a number. A deep, magnetic voice came from the other end. Miss Linda, what made you think of calling me? I tried to sound mysterious, wanting to match the aura of the legendary big shot. Mr. Eric, I have a business proposition to discuss. I arranged to meet with Eric in an upscale, secluded tea house. After some small talk, we both sat down on a soft tatami mat. I silently took a deep breath and displayed my most graceful demeanor as I laid out the exquisite tea sets. Eric smiled slightly. Miss Linda knows the art of tea. Yes, I started learning in middle school. My parents took up a lot of my childhood time for this training. The tea ceremony was just one of many skills. Mr. Eric, this tea takes 2 hours to make. I smiled. 2 hours was more than enough to sell my shares. Actually, I could do it in 10 minutes, easily. As I was still wiping the tea sets, there was a knock on the door. The tea house manager walked in, nodded to me, then looked at Eric. Respectfully, he said, Mr. Eric, would you like to move to your private tea room? I paused and looked at Eric. Eric's handsome face always held a graceful and noble smile. He glanced at me and said, no need, this is fine. The manager nodded to both of us and left. Turns out, Eric has his own private tea room here, no need to book. While waiting for the tea, I handed the share transfer document to Eric. These were sent by Kevin 4 days ago, and had already been processed. Eric glanced at it, his eyes calm and deep like a tranquil lake, unreadable. He slightly raised an eyebrow. Miss Linda, what does this mean? I got straight to the point. This is the business deal I mentioned. These 10% shares, I'm selling them to you. Even though Eric and Kevin are uncle and nephew, Kevin isn't from the main family. Always unaccepted. I knew the family always guarded against him. Now that Kevin has come a long way, especially the current family head, Eric, I couldn't believe he wouldn't be wary of Kevin. By selling this 10% to Eric, I was essentially giving him Kevin's weak spot. Eric, being so smart, would make a deal instantly. I confidently grinned. So Eric, isn't it a pleasant surprise? Eric's beautiful eyes still held a smile, but those eyes seemed to hold the power of a black hole, able to see through and draw you in. I felt my smile faltering. Then Eric slowly spoke. Miss Linda broke up with my nephew, meaning your father will withdraw his investment. In other words, this 10% share will soon lose much of its value. Miss Linda, how much are you planning to sell it for? Eric knew everything. He knew about my breakup with Kevin and my family background. I could no longer smile. My confidence shattered within half an hour of meeting Eric. Eric raised an eyebrow. Miss Linda, how much do you think I'll pay for something that isn't worth much? That's still 10% of Kevin's company shares. How could it be worthless? Eric lightly curved his thin lips and handed back the transfer document. I took it, feeling utterly defeated. The legendary Eric truly was extraordinary. I still had a lot to learn. I calmed myself and forced a smile. Doesn't matter, business is business. Eric, I hope we can cooperate in the future. Eric quietly stared at me, then spoke, of course. He asked, what are you going to do with the shares? I had no plan B. It so happens I have a buyer for Miss Linda's shares. Eric spoke with a commanding aura. I straightened up. Who? Am I hearing correctly? Yes, Jane, Eric said. If I could sell to Jane, that would be great. Does she have that kind of money? Eric chuckled. You underestimate her. She gave my nephew a son. I instantly understood. I just wanted to sell the shares to Kevin's enemies. Eric was even more ruthless. After more than an hour, the tea was finally ready. After a series of intricate rituals, I handed a cup of green tea to Eric. Eric, give it a try. Thanks. Eric took the teacup and sipped it lightly. He savored it carefully, then nodded after a long while. Ms. Linda, your tea-making skills are excellent. I hope I have the honor of tasting it again in the future. That was a pretty obvious hint, wasn't it? I felt a bit excited, but maintained a calm and graceful exterior. Eric, whenever you want to drink tea, just say the word. I'll remember that, Ms. Linda. Eric said this while looking straight into my eyes. For some reason, my heart skipped a beat. After parting ways with Eric, I headed straight to Kevin's company. I hadn't resigned yet, so I was still the president's secretary. I was waiting for Jane to come find me. She must be scared that if I stayed in the company, I might get involved with Kevin. I thought it would take days for Jane to come, but as soon as I entered the secretary's office, I saw Jane sitting at my old desk. It seemed Kevin had appointed her to the position of the president's secretary. Eric was right. I had indeed underestimated this woman. Seeing me, Jane's face showed clear displeasure. She coldly asked, "What are you doing here?" I walked in. "I haven't resigned yet. You've already got the shares in your hands. What else do you want?" She had already adopted the posture of the new mistress. Kevin's loss was her loss, but this company was built by Kevin and me together. Though it was a bit grating, this was exactly what I wanted. So now I'm the company's major shareholder. I have all the more reason to be here. Jane stared at me warily and suddenly said, "Linda, Kevin no longer likes you." "No, he never liked you to begin with. Why are you still clinging to him? Can't you save some dignity for yourself? Do you need to make everyone know you're a third wheel to be happy?" This third wheel term was certainly a set piece. I looked around to make sure no one was passing by the secretary's office, sighed, and sat down on the sofa. I also want to cut ties cleanly with Kevin, but as long as I hold the company's shares, I can't. I blinked, pretending confusion, looking at her. "So what do you suggest I do?" Jane got a bit excited. "So you should just take the money." I pretended to think for a while, then tentatively asked Jane, "Do you think I should sell the shares?" As expected, Jane became cautious. "Who do you want to sell to?" "Whoever offers the highest price." Jane deliberated for a moment, then said the words I was waiting for. "Name your price." 100 million. 100 million. Jane's voice raised, but she seemed to not want to be overheard. She moved closer and warned me in a low voice, "Don't ask for the moon. That's already very cheap." I shrugged. "If you don't want to buy, there are many people who do at this price." I made a move to leave. Just as I reached the door, Jane, as I had expected, called me back. "Give me a few days," she said, pausing for a moment before continuing. "Don't tell Kevin about this for now. Then hurry. I'll only give you 3 days." I said and left. 3 days later, I indeed received a call from Jane. She said she had gathered the money and asked me to come over for the transfer procedures. Everything went smoothly. I got the money, and Jane got the contract. Seeing her happy and smug face, I added fuel to the fire. "No wonder Kevin likes you. You've really outdone yourself this time." Jane snorted. "Don't think you're the only one who can help Kevin." Watching Jane get into her car, I called my dad and smiled. "The shares are sold. You can withdraw your investment now." 2 hours later, I received a call from Kevin. "Is it you who leaked the news about me and Jane?" he questioned coldly. Now the internet was flooded with scandals about Kevin's affair and an illegitimate child with Jane. The company's value was plummeting, and with my dad's withdrawal of investment, it was likely Kevin called me right, after coughing up blood. "Yes," I admitted. Kevin was puzzled and gritted his teeth. "But you hold shares in the company. Company's stock value drops. What good does that do for you?" I shrugged, suddenly finding it very amusing. "Yeah, that's why I sold the shares to Jane. She paid me a full 100 million. Kevin seemed to be rendered speechless by my words for a long time. I smiled. "Thank Jane for me. I'll use this 100 million to start a new company and keep playing with you guys," I said with a smile, taunting Kevin a bit before hanging up. Kevin's final frustrated threats still echoed in my ears. "Linda, don't think you can compete with me just because you have 100 million. I will make you lose everything." It's hard to make me lose everything. Kevin really had become arrogant, forgetting how his company got to where it was today. Without my support and connections, he's just a loser. That's who he is, both self-deprecating and arrogant. Let's see how long he can keep this up. I got into the car to register my new company. My phone rang. It was Eric. I answered quickly. "Hey, Eric." There was a moment of silence on the other end. I twitched slightly at the corner of my eye and cleared my throat, correcting myself. "Eric." Eric chuckled low. "Are you free? I have a business deal I want to discuss with you." This time we met at a wine cellar. Sitting at the long table, I sat to the lower left, leaving the main seat for Eric. Soon, a tall figure appeared at the door. I looked over. The man was still in a black suit, but seemed more relaxed. He was holding a bouquet of pink peonies. As he approached, I smelled the fragrance of the flowers. I stood up, smiling and teasing. "Eric, planning to go on a date right after our business talk?" But Eric handed me the bouquet, I saw these on the way here. They looked beautiful, so I bought them for you. I was completely stunned. I've been with Kevin for 5 years, but he has never given me flowers. Eric moved the bouquet closer to me. Don't you like it? I quickly took it. I love it. Thank you. I didn't expect you to give me flowers. It's what a gentleman should do, Eric said as he sat with me. The wine was already decanted. I told Eric about my plan to start a company and mentioned it was already registered. He nodded. I know, that's why I want to partner with you. How does he know everything? With Eric's backing, it should be easier to take down Kevin. But my goal isn't just to crush Kevin. He's just a small obstacle in my grand plan. Once I get rid of him, there's still a long road ahead. After parting ways with Eric, I got into my car with a big bouquet of peonies. I didn't tell Eric that peonies are my favorite flower. On the official opening day of my company, Eric sent another large bouquet of peonies. As I was smiling at the peonies in my office, my mom walked in. Who sent the flowers? To make my precious daughter so happy, my mom asked, her elegant face showing curiosity. A partner. Did Dad leave? He left after taking a quick look from the car. Your dad didn't even dare to get out, and I had to sneak in after everyone left, Mom said, a bit resentful. I'm trying to make a name for myself first. Once the company is up and running, taking over my family's company will be easier. No one will have anything to say. Mom nodded. That's true. I believe in your abilities. She looked at the peonies again. Who exactly sent these? I couldn't say it was Big Boss Eric, right? Seeing me silent, my mom smiled and left. Just then, I got a call from Eric. I heard that Kevin is eyeing the Hope Project, but given his recent bad reputation, Hope doesn't favor him. I got it immediately and asked, do you know the person in charge of the Hope Project? I can introduce you. Thank you, Mr. Eric. We're partners. No need to be so formal. Right? I've enjoyed my time working with Eric. Should I call him Uncle Eric then? Eric's voice lowered. Just call me Eric. Just call me by my name, he said before hanging up. Did I upset him by saying uncle? He's Kevin's uncle, and Kevin is my ex. Shouldn't I call him uncle? Eric kept his word and introduced me to John, the person in charge of the Hope Project. We arranged to meet at a restaurant on Friday night. When I entered the private room, I saw Kevin. John smiled and invited me to sit. I glanced at Kevin and sat on the other side of John. Kevin looked at me with a fake smile. Linda, it seems you are also interested in this project, but your company just started. Do you have the funds to invest? Before I could respond, Kevin continued, moreover, your core team isn't even established yet. He didn't give me a chance to speak, turning to John. John, I'm familiar with Linda and acknowledge her abilities, but no project can be handled alone. Miss Linda might be talented, but her team lacks the necessary experience. He's trying to put me down. How petty. John nodded slightly, agreeing with Kevin. John asked me, since we're on this topic, Miss Linda, can you tell me the strengths of your company? I glanced at Kevin and gave John a polite smile. Kevin's right, my company is newly established, but that means it's clean and without scandals. Care for insults? Who can't? I looked at Kevin with an unchanging smile. Am I right, Kevin? Kevin's face darkened for a moment but quickly returned to normal. John, trying to smooth things over, said, both of you are outstanding young talents. Let's have a toast. I smiled, knowing John was waiting for our bargaining chips. I raised my glass and said, my company has one more advantage. Plenty of money. I didn't take a penny from my parents. All the funds were from Eric. Of course, he has his motives. If I secure the project, he gets half the profit. I had asked him why he didn't handle it himself. John would love to partner with him. Eric said, I don't have enough staff. In other words, he sees me as his employee. Businessmen are indeed shrewd. After the meal, we had no clear result. Kevin and I walked John out together. After seeing John off, Kevin spoke irritably. Linda, you already have 100 million. Why do you want more? Handle your cheating scandal before worrying about me. My driver pulled up, and without another glance at Kevin, I got into the car. Back home, I called Eric and told him I met Kevin at the restaurant. Eric wasn't surprised. The Hope guys are all old foxes. They want to see who offers more profit. It's business, after all. The project needs to go through, but they also want a kickback. I lowered my eyes, lost in thought. Linda, Eric suddenly called my name. I snapped out of it, smiling faintly. I have a plan. You just need to fund it. Eric suddenly asked, wanna grab a drink? Now? I thought, why don't you come to my place? I hung up the phone and sat quietly on the sofa. After a long while, I raised my hand to touch my cheek. It was warm. Why did I invite Eric to my place? An hour later, Eric arrived with a bottle of champagne. It was my favorite, the 95 Krug. I looked at Eric with a puzzled expression. He was dressed casually, looking more relaxed than usual, but his powerful aura couldn't be ignored. This man in front of me, his looks, height, physique, and charisma, all top-notch. And his identity, his background. My dad might be the richest man on the list, but the real big shots, like Eric, don't even appear on those lists. Eric raised an eyebrow, a lazy yet mischievous smile tugging at his lips. What's up? I chuckled and turned to the bar. This is my favorite champagne. I poured 2 glasses, handed him one, and sat down not far from him. My favorite flower is peony. Eric leaned back on the sofa, the brilliant light illuminating the depths of his eyes. Something was flowing out of them, entangling me, like a dense web. I saw the predatory gleam in his eyes, intense and compelling. He gave a soft hum, the smile in his eyes deepening just a bit. Eric, you like me? I used a declarative sentence. Eric looked straight into my eyes. Yeah, honestly, my heart started pounding faster. But facing Eric, I didn't want to show any weakness. Even though I had broken up with Kevin, even though he wasn't my adversary anymore, it was weird. I felt like there was always a natural conflict between us, but strangely harmonious. When did it start? I asked. Eric softly swirled his champagne, looking up at me. When you helped Kevin snatch the Harry project from me. Don't tell me. I dragged out my words, leaning toward him slowly. You have a masochistic tendency. Eric's eyebrow arched, an intoxicating allure emanating from his expression. I won't tell you. His voice was low, a bit husky. You figure it out yourself. My heart started itching, like an invisible hand gently teasing it, drawing out a long thread. Eric raised his glass, gesturing toward me. Seemed like I knew why he suddenly suggested we drink. Before leaving, Eric said to me, I'm glad you broke up with Kevin. I chuckled lightly. Aren't you afraid people will say you covet your nephew's wife? You aren't. Eric's smile turned cold. Besides, Kevin isn't worthy of you. Then who is? I asked, already knowing the answer. Eric leaned in slowly, his handsome face getting closer and closer. I felt my breath hitch. Me? His tone was arrogant yet not off-putting. My heart raced. I was actually getting nervous. Eric chuckled softly and took a step back. All right, I'm leaving. He looked deeply at me and said, good night, before walking out. I waved my hand, the word good night coming out slower than I intended. Good night? What good night? With him being so flirtatious, how could I sleep? Sure enough, I had insomnia, tossing and turning in bed, unable to sleep. The next morning, I arrived at the office feeling listless. The secretary brought me a cup of coffee. Oh, and I yawned, blinking hard to shake off the drowsiness. Help me check on Hope's John. In the afternoon, the secretary handed me John's information. I browsed through it, stopping at the part suggesting John was transferring assets. The secretary said, that Swiss bank account belongs to John. He's been transferring money there for years. She also showed me some photos. These are photos of John's wife and daughter living in New York, from about a year ago. The secretary continued, over the years, John has been buying houses overseas, in New York, Hokkaido, and so on. He seems to be severing ties with his life here. I chuckled. At least he's hesitant to cut ties yet. After all, he can't let go of the benefits here. The problem was, a single bank account and a few photos weren't enough evidence. I needed a bigger leverage against John. I instructed the secretary to keep investigating. This wasn't a task easily accomplished. During this time, I received a call from Eric. His voice was as lazy and drawling as ever. So, how's your plan coming along? Fairly well, I guess, I replied modestly. At least I had a small lead on John. Following this trail, his ambitions would eventually reveal themselves. I've got something good for you. You'll be interested. Eric was good at being mysterious. My curiosity was piqued. We met again in the wine cellar. This time, he didn't play games. He handed me a dossier. I opened it, finding all sorts of incriminating evidence on John. Tax evasion, bribery, even infidelity. I looked at Eric in shock. How did you get this? Eric's lips curled into a dangerous, wicked smile. I didn't answer his question but said, the devil's appearance is truly deceptive. Eric raised an eyebrow, his voice silky. Am I a devil? No. I leaned in slightly, my lips parting, speaking softly, you're my angel. Eric's eyes darkened, his gaze falling onto my lips. His eyes seemed to pull at me. An ambiguous atmosphere filled the wine cellar. My heart raced, but I maintained a calm exterior. And I liked this feeling. John had scheduled another meeting with me. This time, Kevin would also be there. In the private room, John looked radiant. It was obvious he was letting Kevin and me compete, hoping to benefit from both of us. This time, I decided not to fight with Kevin. I let him flatter John, even trash talk, and insinuate things about me without any rebuttal. It's amusing to watch a clown perform. But John's ultimate goal was to see how much personal gain he could get. Something separate from the company's interests. I know both of your companies are strong, so I'm not worried about that, John said with a smile, lightly tapping the table with his fingers. What I'm looking for is your sincerity. I remained silent and looked over at Kevin. Kevin, possibly afraid I would speak first, quickly said, That's easy, John. Let's talk in private. And you, Miss Linda? John asked me. I shrugged. I have nothing to say. I'm not giving up any profit. John wasn't angry at my response. He just laughed heartily. Linda, you're still too young. He turned to Kevin. Shall we continue this somewhere else? After you, John. Kevin stood up, giving me a smug and disdainful look. It was clear he was confident about winning this project. While Kevin and John were discussing profit distribution, I reached out to John's biggest rival within his company, a middle-aged woman in her 40s. Harry. She heard that I wanted to collaborate with her and sneered. You must have misunderstood. That project isn't my responsibility, but I know you want it very much. Harry stayed silent. I didn't beat around the bush and got straight to the point. I'll help you take down John. You take over the project and work with me. We split the profit 60-40. Harry didn't get overly excited. It was clear she didn't believe I could bring John down. Not that she was unhappy with the profit split. She probably hadn't even considered the profit share. I handed her a dossier. You might find this interesting. As I spoke, I suddenly realized how much I sounded like Eric. It was scary how much he had subtly influenced me. After reading it, Harry looked at me in disbelief. I smirked and raised my glass. Here's to our cooperation. Harry immediately raised her glass and clinked it with mine. To our cooperation. We signed an initial agreement, and I handed over all of John's dirt to her, including evidence of his infidelity, which I sent to his wife. John's wife came from a prestigious family, and had helped him rise to his current position. How she chose to handle this was her business. I had done my part. Feeling sympathy for a jerk would only bring bad luck. The day Kevin and John were signing the contract, I also showed up. Both men gave me contemptuous looks. Linda, John is ready to sign with me. The contract is all set. You have no chance, Kevin boasted. It was the first big project he had secured on his own, without my help. So his pride was understandable. John shook his head regretfully. Linda, I did want to work with you, but your approach is too immature. Sometimes, you have to take a loss to achieve long-term success. I nodded slightly. I appreciate the lesson, John. At that moment, the door opened and 4 police officers walked in. They approached John, and one said, "We're from the Economic Crimes Investigation Unit. John, you're under suspicion of tax evasion and bribery. Please come with us." John was taken away before he could react, and Kevin was shocked. I glanced at the contract they were about to sign and mimicked John's regretful tone. Such a pity. It was so close. I chuckled. Even if you sign, it won't be valid. Kevin seemed to realize what had happened. He stared at me intently. Linda, did you do this? It was John's doing, I said, checking my watch. Oh, I can't chat with you. The manager is waiting for me in the next room. I need to sign a contract too. I gave Kevin a sweet smile, then confidently walked out, enjoying his enraged expression. I signed the contract with hope. My company made a strong debut and got industry attention. Invitations started pouring in. At a networking event, while I was working on building connections, Kevin and Jane showed up. Congrats, Linda. Kevin raised his glass to me, eyes cold but smiling. But don't celebrate too soon. This is just the beginning of our battle. So, Kevin wants a continued rivalry. I raised my glass too. I'm all in. Kevin chuckled lightly. Linda, don't take on more than you can handle. Focus on completing the Hope project first. Hope's project isn't a big deal. You can have it. Jane laughed. I've recently invested in many projects, and honestly, our company doesn't have the time or energy for Hope's project. Kevin pulled Jane close, and they exchanged affectionate looks. I inwardly sneered at Jane's so-called investments. Was she sure she was investing and not squandering? Just as I was about to leave, Kevin's assistant hurried in, whispering something in Kevin's ear. Kevin's expression changed, and he suddenly looked furious, glaring at Jane. Jane looked puzzled. What's wrong? She asked softly. Kevin's lips tightened into a straight line. He glanced at me, then dragged Jane away. I immediately followed. I had to see the drama unfold. Deep in the garden, I could hear Jane's sobs and Kevin's low rants from afar. Did you even do any research? I was doing what's best for the company and for you. When you bought shares from Linda for me, it was for my good. And now you're saying the same thing. Jane, let me tell you, I don't have that much money for you to waste. If you can't do business, then get back home and stop causing trouble. Jane cried and shouted. What kind of attitude is this? Kevin, I'm the mother of your child. Thanks for reminding me. Kevin gritted his teeth. If it weren't for you bringing the kid to the celebration, Linda and I would have split peacefully. We wouldn't have had bad press, causing the company's stock to drop. Do you even use your brain? I said it was because the kid wanted to see his dad. So you just took him. Couldn't you think for yourself? You despise me, don't you? Let me tell you, Jane, if it wasn't for the kid, I would have told you to take a good, hard look at yourself. Kevin shouted angrily and walked off. I wanted to hide, but it was too late. Forget it, there's no point in hiding. But Kevin didn't even look at me and walked away. He must have been in a rush to fix Jane's mess. Jane cried, came over, saw me, hesitated, and glared at me with venom in her eyes, despite her tears. Linda, don't think Kevin will come back to you now. He loves me. Kevin, wait for me. Jane cried as she ran after him. At a time like this, is her mind only filled with love and romance? A few days later, my secretary informed me that Kevin's company had a major financial gap due to Jane's reckless investments. If they didn't fill it, they'd face bankruptcy. Just then, I got a call from Kevin. Honestly, I was quite interested to see him in his current state. We met at a quiet country club. He gently pushed a drink towards me. I got you your favorite mango juice. I sat down, ignored the drink, and asked him flatly, what do you want? Kevin suddenly laughed. Linda, you hate me, don't you? I slightly frowned. Him calling me Linda churned my stomach. Kevin chuckled again. You know what, Linda? I'm actually glad you hate me. I didn't respond. He looked into my eyes, and what gathered in his gaze wasn't love, but a self-righteous delusion. He said, Linda, your hate means you still love me. I pulled out my phone, dialing a number under the table with the volume on low. He slowly got up, walked to my side, and put his hands on my shoulders, leaning in close to my ear. Linda, there was never a third party between us. Jane was just a fleeting infatuation from my youth. I love you. I knew Kevin was disgusting, but I didn't realize he was this disgusting. He realized he couldn't leave me, but wanted to rekindle the past. I gripped the phone I'd taken from my bag. What about your son? Kevin's handsome face showed a look of confidence. I said, I love you. You're the most important to me. He continued with his false sincerity. If you like that kid, I'll bring him from Jane to you. If you don't, I'll send them both away. They won't disturb our lives. Kevin, do you think you're some ancient emperor? I scoffed, pushing his hands away and stood up. Kevin straightened up and stared at me intensely. Linda, what else are you unhappy about? I've done everything I can for you. Indeed, he was trying his best to disgust me. I raised my phone, showing him the screen's active call. Kevin didn't expect I'd call Jane. He was stunned. Didn't you say you'd send your precious Jane and son away? Tell them yourself. I smiled wickedly, hung up, and walked off with my bag. Kevin caught up and grabbed my wrist. Linda, what do you mean? I glanced coldly at him. Kevin, the thing I regret most in my life is liking you. I raised an eyebrow. And to be clear, I'm too good for you. You don't even measure up to Jane. Scum. I shook off his hand and walked away coldly. Just outside the club, I saw a familiar Maybach. The driver got out and opened the door for me. Miss, please. I bent down and got in. Eric handed me a bouquet of pink peonies. I took them and gently sniffed. They smell wonderful. I love them. What about me? Eric's deep, magnetic voice asked. I turned to meet his gaze. The driver started the engine. I slowly replied, I love you more. Eric's smile deepened. I held the peonies close. Don't you want to know what I said to your nephew? I'm not interested in what he said. I am curious, Eric prolonged, about what you did. I shrugged. Not much. Just called Jane when he was confessing to me. Eric let out a low laugh. Pity we missed the drama. I agree. Seems like I really am a perfect match with this dangerous man. My secretary informed me that Jane was constantly causing trouble for Kevin, using all the melodrama tactics, even involving the kid. A few days later, my secretary told me Kevin and Jane made up. Honestly, Jane has some tricks up her sleeve. We met again at a party. Jane clung to Kevin's arm, looking at me like a victor, as if to say, see Linda, no matter how capable you are, Kevin chose me in the end. As for Kevin, he didn't pester me. At least he had some dignity. But I was wrong. Kevin didn't have dignity, just a ridiculous mix of inferiority and arrogance. In the corner of the banquet hall, he brought Jane along to humiliate me. Disappointed to see us together, Kevin sneered. Your petty tricks to pit me against Jane are laughably childish. I looked at Jane with a questioning gaze. All I can say is, respect, locked in. Jane, she's totally into it. I raised my glass to the two of them. Cheers to you both, forever and always. People like them should just stay together and not bother others. I turned and walked inside. Kevin's voice came from behind me. Linda, stop it. He purposely raised his voice, and everyone in the banquet hall looked over. I paused, turned around, and stared at him in confusion. What's his problem? I told you, Jane is the only one in my heart. Kevin wrapped his arm around Jane. No matter what you do, I won't like you, so stop bothering me. Before I could react, the people around started whispering. I thought she got the Hope Project, because she's capable, but it turns out she's just obsessed with love. Clinging on to someone like that is so embarrassing. When will she ever learn? Kevin is trying to ruin my reputation, just because I turned down his attempt to get back together. This man, his dirty tricks are endless. I clenched my fists. A tall figure suddenly appeared beside me, enveloping me in a familiar scent. I looked sideways at the incredibly handsome man next to me and slowly released my fists. The murmurs around us stopped. Eric's deep, lazy voice echoed, Nephew, is that how you speak to your aunt? My bad mood vanished instantly, and Eric's mention of aunt almost made me burst out laughing. I glanced at Kevin and Jane, especially Kevin. His smug, sinister expression shattered into one of disbelief as he looked at Eric and me. You, Linda, you. I bit my lip, met Eric's deep gaze, and then looked at Kevin and Jane, sneering. No manners, you should call me auntie. I have to say, playing the elder felt awesome. Someone snickered nearby. I don't know who said it, but illegitimate children can't handle the spotlight. That was the last thing Kevin wanted to hear, and the thing he hated the most. His face turned pale, his body trembled, and he stared at Eric and me like a rabid dog ready to attack. Eric and I exchanged a glance. Before Eric could speak, Kevin suddenly burst out laughing, pointing at Eric. Linda, you're so naive. He just wants to take everything from me. Do you really think he likes you? You think starting a company and landing a project will earn you respect in the family? Let me tell you, Linda, to the family, you're still nothing but trash. I'll be waiting to see you kicked out. No, you'll never even make it to the family. Kevin had lost his mind. Just as I was about to respond, a displeased voice rang out. I wasn't aware that my daughter, David's daughter, needed to prove herself to anyone. The voice made me gasp and turn sharply. The crowd parted, and my mom, arm in arm with my dad, walked toward us. Eric leaned down and whispered in my ear. I wanted to tell you earlier, your parents are here too. My parents stopped on my other side. Young man, your name is Kevin, right? My dad's stern face bore a slight, insincere smile. I know you. My daughter has been running your company, and even got it listed these past few years. At this point, my dad turned to me. Sweetheart, your mom and I told you to be kind and compassionate, but don't be naive. Not every underdog deserves your help. I nodded. I understand, Dad. My mom smiled satisfactorily. Our little treasure is so well behaved. Kevin, who had been in a daze, finally snapped out of it. David, he looked at me in disbelief. Linda, you're the daughter of the richest man. That's impossible. My dad furrowed his brow slightly. I only have one treasure. Are you saying I would lie about that? Sir, maybe you shouldn't be here. You should get your head checked, and here too. He pointed to Kevin's chest. In life, you need to have a straight conscience, or no one will dare to cooperate with you. As soon as my dad said that, the people around us immediately agreed. David is right. The hosts of the banquet even called security to kick Kevin and Jane out. I knew since my dad said that, no one would ever want to work with Kevin again. Kevin, being dragged by security, only reacted when he was almost at the door. He started shouting my name. Linda, Linda, I was wrong. Please give me another chance. Linda, I suddenly felt a tightness around my waist. Looking to the side, I saw Eric's handsome face, calm as ever. I laughed, pulling him towards my parents. Mom, Dad, this is Eric, my boyfriend. Just a moment ago, I was borrowing someone's name to play the aunt. Now it's not too much to give it a title, right? That same night, all the major news outlets broke the story. The richest man's daughter, Linda, and the legendary mogul, Eric, fall in love. This union is bound to cause a tsunami in the business world. Eric glanced at the exaggerated news headline and let out a cold snort. He then called his assistant. I don't like the term union. After Eric hung up, I cupped his face and kissed him on the lips. Also, I don't like that news headline either. Using the word tsunami is inappropriate. I prefer bloody storm. 3 days later, I got a call from Kevin. He sounded like he was on the verge of breaking down. Linda, I really messed up. Can you give me a second chance to love you again? I beg you. I truly love you. I've already sent Jane away, and the child too. I don't want anything but you. I hung up immediately and blocked his number. He didn't just want me. He couldn't handle his situation anymore. Later, I heard that Jane had gone mad after being abandoned by Kevin. First, she threatened Kevin by saying she'd kill herself and their son. When Kevin arrived, she was using carbon monoxide to commit suicide with their son. Kevin got them to the hospital. While Jane woke up, their 2-year-old son was still in a coma. Kevin and Jane had a huge fight and completely severed ties. With no son, no shares, no money, nothing, Jane went insane. She hit Kevin with a vase, knocked him out, and beat him up at an unfinished building. If his assistant hadn't contacted him, Kevin would have been done for. Together for 5 years, an illegitimate son for 2, and yet it all ended like this. What a pity. Jane was sentenced to 10 years in prison. An overwhelming wave of scandals engulfed Kevin's company. Shareholders withdrew their investments, and he lost everything. A year later, my company was on track, and I finished paying off Eric's investment. 3 years later, I earned my first fortune of 30 million on my own. I used the money to secretly plan a proposal to Eric. Yes, I proposed to him. It's been 3 years. It's not too much to ask for a title, right? Eric's shocked expression was something I'll never forget. Eventually, Eric's and my company joined forces, nearly monopolizing the city's shares. Every morning, I woke up to the sound of money flowing in. Early morning, I was awakened again by the sound of 5 million being deposited. Without opening my eyes, I answered Eric's call. What's up? How do you like this wake-up ringtone? I burst out laughing. It's great. Let's use this from now on. Your Majesty, since you've received the money, may I have the honor of having breakfast with you? All right, I'll consider it. After all, sometimes a husband needs a little pampering too.